Hello everyone, it's the beginning of another week on Your View. Welcome to the show. I am Murayo Afolabi Brown. As always, I have the ladies with me. Hello, BC. I love our colors today.
Yes.
They're bold, strong, different. I like it. How you doing? How was your weekend?
Amazing. My weekend was good. I just want to be grateful to God.
Right.
I started my hair business, and then everybody was like, "Oh, you're doing hair? Why are you doing hair?" And all of that. I'm like, I have to start building my multiple streams of income.
Yes, sure.
I've studied successful men, businessmen. They don't do just one thing and just stay there. You just be wasting your time, especially in an economy like ours. You need to be able to diversify and just manage yourself well so you don't wear yourself out. So I started, and yesterday I was on my bed making sales. People were just ordering, and I was like, oh. Before I realized that my stock was out, I had to go back. I didn't sleep till like 12 yesterday. I had to go back and reorder. Yes, my market is finished though. Customers have come again, give me more market. It was fun. At the same time, 3 people registered to be coached by me. And I was like, okay, people are actually believing that I can deliver. And that's why they keep coming and coming back. And one was like, Madam, this money you're calling, are you sure you can? I said, please go to my website and get the testimonials. It's there. If you don't trust me, don't bother. There's no point. So I'm just grateful that things are,
I like the hair. The hair I got from you is beautiful.
I know.
I can't wait to launch it. I used it yesterday on the...
it was really beautiful.
She looked like a baby girl.
That hair was beautiful. I was wondering why you're wearing this one today. Like, please,
I was going to wear it on my birthday. I went on my birthday. But I just thought, let me just use it today, Sneak peek over there.
Yeah, it was really nice. It looked good.
Hi, Topsy.
I'm balling. So I did a post this morning that don't hide your joy because you think that might jinx what you're going through. The truth is, many people tend to hide their joy because they feel it can be jinxed. Your joy cannot be jinxed. Show off your joy. Be happy because somebody is getting inspired from your happiness. So totally for me, I'm very, very grateful. This morning, I'll just wake up and I'll see testimonies. I watched the replay. I just watched it over and over again, and I just woke up. I practiced. She said she did a pitch on Saturday night, that after she watched the replay, that she did a pitch and redid the pitch over like 31 times, and then she posted it online. Everybody was she now became a superstar, and she had that pitch. She was supposed to do it since, and she thought she would never do it, but she just felt like she said what registered with her was that there's no failure, there's only learning. And if they yab you, at least you've learned what not to do if anybody insulted you. But that there was no insult. Everybody was just complimenting her. And so for me, I just feel very fulfilled. I'm very happy. I can't hide it, and I don't want to hide it because I know that this life we're living,
it's one life.
Just do you and be a blessing. Because you might think you live to 80 and you just live to whatever. Glory to God.
Very, very, very good. You're very correct. So, I like that, just share your joy. What I've been saying for the past few weeks is that, like, a lot of, we hear stories of people who have issues. We have those, their voices are louder. Those who don't have issues, we need to hear your stories. We need to see how you're doing it.
This your face, the way you are glowing. You need to tell us, Mr. Brown, Mr. Whatever you are doing is working.
Did you see both of them?
Yes. I was wondering why were you inside the house? People were just forming. I was on the live. Even when I supposed to ask my husband, take earpiece, just take this.
Just listen.
Just listen small. Because
I was upstairs in my room. He was downstairs.
Okay.
And,
it was very, very good.
Yeah.
It was
we
very
had
fun watching.
For those of you that don't know what we're talking about, we had
Instagram
Live.
Instagram Live.
So I interviewed my husband on Saturday, and I thought it was a good thing to do for Father's Day, and because I knew that my husband has content, he has wisdom, and he's the kind of person that a lot of men need to learn from. People need to learn from him. So I just it's Father's Day. I have a father that makes sense. Let me just put him on stage. And I think he did a good job.
Yeah. We had fun.
He kept telling me, give me the questions, give me the question. I didn't answer him. I said, I'm not giving you this question.
We don't give anybody questions.
We don't. But 30 minutes before, he just forced me. I said, oh. So I think, interestingly, when he was practicing, his responses were stronger than what he said, because I didn't want him to see the questions, but he, how men, and he just give me this, let me see, Jerry. So he just tried to practice a few things, but I mean, he did very well. So this is the first time being interviewed. He's never been interviewed before. He was really, really
I enjoyed it.
And it was very informative.
And he kept reminding us that he's an Ekiti man. That was just the best part.
Also the place of spiritual emphasis.
Prayers. Yes. All right, it's Monday. Let's get serious. A lot is happening, especially in Edo and so many other places. But me, I'm not going to talk about it too. I don't want to.
I'm ready for it.
Stay with us. We'll be right back. All right, we're going to start with the punch. APC Edo set for showdown as governorship primary holds today. 2 dead, many injured in Lagos-Ibadan Expressway tanker explosion. Ogun vulcanizer arrested for stealing female customers' underwear pants. Amotekun Corps intercepts another 17 illegal miners in Osun. Will review suspended strike in July, resident doctors. Ekiti names shames another convicted rapists. Sit-up of be fired, Lawan tells service chiefs after meeting Buhari. Wadume trial resumes today, calls mount for killer soldiers prosecution. And demolition, Ghanaian thugs threatened attack, says security head. Okay, lots of stories here. Let's start with the human interest.
Okay, so
the
2 stories quickly from me there. The men of the Ogun State Police Command arrested a 23-year-old vulcanizer, Dele Okwe, for allegedly stealing a pair of pants belonging to a female customer. So this customer called him to help fix her tires, and after he was done, he left. But then she realized that the pants she hung on the rope was missing, and so there was no other person who entered that compound. She suspected, and then she went to the police to lay a complaint. So they came, they arrested him. They went to his house first of all, and they searched everywhere only for them to find that pants in the house. So they arrested him, and he confessed to stealing the pants, saying that he wanted to give it to a herbalist for money ritual. The case is under investigation as we speak. But the
tanker explosion.
Yes. So this happened in Kara Bridge, end of Lagos-Ibadan Expressway on Sunday. The accident happened because a particular tanker driver was trying to overtake the other tanker driver, and that one wasn't letting him have that space. And so he ran into another truck that was carrying, I think it was a Dangote cement truck, ran into it and exploded. The other tanker as well exploded. So I think about two of the drivers died, and some other persons were injured. They've been taken to the hospital. Serious gridlock. But some eyewitnesses were saying that the gridlock was because the police at that junction were trying to obtain money from the driver.
No, but the tankers actually blocked the entire road. It was beyond that.
I want to take the Wadume story. So follow up, the Wadume trial finally continues today. And the Wadume, if we all know, is a kidnap kingpin that was arrested. And in the course of his arrest, soldiers freed him and led to the death of policemen. And so now the civil service and most importantly, Femi Falana-San was speaking up that the police officer, the soldiers that were culpable in the killing of police officers should be included in this trial that is starting now. And that the AGF shouldn't remove them because right now those ones are facing court-martial with a different panel and they're not being tried in court with Wadume. But they're saying that every one of them, all the soldiers involved, because they said that while they arrested Wadume, he had civilians that were working on his payroll and soldiers on his payroll too. And so that all the people that are culpable should be tried at the same time. So it's been too long. Let's see justice concerning Wadume's case.
Moving on very quickly to the nation. Police, DSS, INEC deployed in Edo for APC shadow poll. Gaidam suspended as Lawan meets Buhari on APC crisis. Aisha Buhari's ADC security aids restored. Man clubs kids death. With PESO, oh my goodness. And government releases 13.6 billion to health workers. I'd like to take that story because we've been talking about it and I'm surprised I didn't make the major story. Big story. Because we've been asking, the doctors were supposed to go on strike. And now with the intervention of NARD, that's the Resident Doctors Association, and also the federal government. They've been able to get the government to agree to a 13.6 billion naira package for life insurance,
Yes.
and hazard allowance. Yes. Oh, it did?
Yes, yes.
Hazard allowance and a few other civil servants, which is great. So that's when the government is doing something good, we should appreciate that. And now they've called off the strike, which we're happy about. So hopefully, we don't know exactly the details of the juicy package. We heard they got juicy packages. So let's see what happens.
I don't think there's any juicy. They're putting their lives at risk.
Yeah, so it's more
they
like...
should get something. They should get something.
Yeah, so the man who clubbed his family members. So a 34-year-old man, Ifani Abusiobi, in Obunike, I think that was Anambra State, just woke up and took a pistol, clubbed his 2 children and his father, who was 72 years.
Mental problem.
Yeah, so he's been arrested. They've taken the people to the hospital. The kids have died, but the father is recuperating in the hospital. So they are saying that after investigations, they don't know what exactly happened. They will likely, prosecute. But I want them to have a psych evaluation for him. He's obviously not a normal human being.
The APC story and PDP story.
We'll take to APC, don't worry. But I wanted to take our president's wife. They returned her aides. I'm really happy. After the investigation, they found out that none of her aides actually fired a gunshot. So, I guess the gun didn't come from their own. The bullet didn't come from their own gun. So they've been restored and everything is back to normalcy in the bill. I'm happy about that. Daily Sun, APC suffers another loss. FG talks tough over attack on embassy in Ghana. Agony losses as fuel tankers wreak havoc in Lagos. Government pays 13.4 billion naira to end doctor strike. Let's talk about who has
APC and the loss they just suffered.
Okay.
So in the APC, Ondo State, the deputy governor of Ondo State has resigned. No, he didn't. He said that he did not resign from his position as deputy governor because he brought in a lot of people and it was a joint ticket and they voted for him. What he did was to resign from the party. So he went to the ward where he registered and tendered his resignation and went to another ward, the same ward, to the PDP office to apply that I am coming back to my party. That was, I had to clarify that. Okay, so he was in PDP before, moved to APC and now he's back at PDP. He also mentioned the fact that everybody is aware that there's been crisis between himself and the governor, but that he's not resigning his position because he's representing the people.
You can connect that to Edo.
Then in connection to Edo State, yes, so I'm very passionate about Edo. My husband is from Edo. My children are from Edo, so sorry, permit me. So the Edo State's APC, PDP is having, APCs have probably started their primaries now across all the local governments following the COVID-19 rules and the gazette by the state governor, because they had issues with the state governor before saying that they shouldn't have it spread across. But now they said less than 18 people should gather. I'm going to beg my in-laws, my people, please, less than 18 per word. Let's keep the social distancing because we have 20,000 cases in Nigeria now. Let's not lie about it. Let's not hide and be forming. Less than 18 people must be in each ward, and let's conduct the primaries peacefully. We know that the PDP primaries will be tomorrow.
Yeah. APC is Tuesday.
APC is Tuesday.
Their own primaries is supposed to be for Tuesday.
That's PDP is on Tuesday. APC is today. APC is today, PDP is on Tuesday. Yes. So the PDP will be today, and then they'll clarify if they would have the candidates.
Please, Nigerian High Commission.
Yes, in Ghana.
Yeah, so it was on Friday, it was bulldozed. Because a certain businessman went there and said that he actually owned the property. And so he came, so he came with people, but they didn't let him. He now came back with a bulldozer and they destroyed some of the buildings that was under construction. It was supposed to be staff quarters for visitors to the commission. So the Nigerian Foreign Affairs is saying that they're actually waiting for the Ghana government to make a statement concerning it. That actually the lease had expired, but they were already in talks to renew that lease already.
Okay, moving on to the Daily Trust. Buhari makes 141 appointments in 81 days. 22 years after irrigation component, Sapke Dam yet to be completed. FG multinationals parley on SMEs mentoring. Any service chief found wanting must go, says Lawan. Ondo Deputy Governor dumps APC and joins PDP. Okay, so the federal government is encouraging this partnership between the MSMEs, that's the medium-scale businesses, with multinationals. And the idea is to mentor them and support them whilst they are also learning from us how we harness our raw materials. But at the same time, we own the intellectual properties of whatever it is that we produce here. So which is a good stuff, hopefully to help many businesses grow. Yeah. The major headline.
Yes, so the president has made 141 appointments in 81 days, according to Daily Trust. They carried out an investigation. So a lot of experts are happy that, okay, this is different from the norm, which we know that the president takes his time in making appointment. Now, with this appointment, things will likely work better. That was just the basics.
Very quickly, last paper, Nigerian Tribune, FG pays 4.6 billion to over 55,000 health workers and 9 billion for life insurance. Fantastic. Nigeria spent 92.2% of Q1 revenue on debt servicing. And let's find another story. Genetically engineered mosquitoes get approval in U.S. despite objections. I really wanted to read that story. But let's take the debt services.
This is really worrisome. So the budget office has released the data saying that the revenue that came in, 92% of it, 99.2% of that, all the revenue we got was spent on servicing debts. And yet we still have to borrow more money. So, and we're going to be discussing a bit of the economy today, but one of the things that was highlighted was the fact that because there was drop in oil revenue and also drop in what could be generated, most of the revenue generating MDAs were bringing in about 60% oil revenue, and also drop in what could be generated, most of the revenue generating MDAs were bringing in about 60% to 50% to 20% of what they had expected or estimated they would be able to bring in. Then of course oil crashed. So the little money we now have to use it to service debts. So imagine if that happened in the first quarter, what would have been used, what investments would have taken place within the first quarter? Nothing.
Wow. Unfortunately, that's all we can take on Front Page Review. When we come back, we'll move on to a few other topics. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. So the Minister of Power, State Maman, has insisted that the new increment on electricity tariff will take off in July. According to him, the challenge we are currently facing in the development and expansion of our transmission is budget, and the release of federal government's commitment in estimated sum of 32 billion naira, primarily for right-of-way acquisition and environmental impact mitigation. Now, joining us, the spokesman is for discourse is Mr. Otunba Sunday Oduntan. Good morning, Otunba. Are you there?
Good morning.
Good to have you on the show. So the summary of all that I've just said is the fact that we're going to be paying increased tariffs starting July. If that is correct, according to NERC, could you just give us an update on that? Did you get that?
Well, thank you very much. What I want us to understand is the fact. Yes, what I'm saying is what all of us need to understand is the fact that NEC is the regulator of the industry. The issue of tariff is very much in the bucket of NEC. So how the issue of tariff be handled is very much up to NEC. What concerns us as a business and as operators is that all of us need to understand what it costs to have electricity in our homes and the issues that we have in the industry, and the fact that when they talk about increasing electricity, it is not so much about the discos alone, it's about the industry as a whole. So NEC will be making pronouncements, and they will choose what day exactly they want it to happen, and they will explain the modalities.
Right. Okay.
Okay, yeah. So I know that I think last week it was in the papers that the discos were struggling with the import duties on the prepaid meters. And it wasn't easy for them to get it out. So a lot of people are waiting to get prepaid meters, and we still have the issue of estimated billing. I believe in paying for value. Do you think we should just go ahead and do the increment in the tariffs, or wait till we can sort out the prepaid meters for a lot of individuals? Because if you have the electricity, it's easier for you to pay. It's not about the money now, but the fact that we have the electricity and you are able to control what you use, it's easier for Nigerians to just accept it and pay.
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, as discos, we are very, very much interested in metering because we want our customers to be able to measure what they consume.
Yeah.
That's number one. Number two, the issue of metering, we need to understand exactly what is at stake. First of all, we need to understand how many people are actually connected to the grid in the country. How many people are using electricity. And if we don't have the numbers and people don't have meters, it will be difficult for us to even plan and do things. So for us, it is very important that every Nigerian household should be metered. But let me make it clear again that the issue of metering, the last minister for made a pronouncement then that metering is not the primary responsibility of discos. So by fiat, they took metering away from us as discos, private investors and businessmen to handle metering, which is fine. These people are called providers, but the meter providers are encountering exactly the same problem that we had in the past. Number one, you know, the cost of meter is fixed by the regulator, through federal government, through the regulator. Number two, that meter, for meter to be available, we should not be imposing 35% import duty as they are doing currently. It's like somebody in the Ministry of Power is not talking to somebody either at the customs or finance, because there should be that synergy whereby we should know that something that is needed so much in the country is made available. So there is 35% import duty for whole meters. For those who bring in components, the local meter manufacturers, they need about 7 to 9 components that they have to import because Ajakuta is not working. So that component, they are also charged 10% on each of the components. Because about 9 components, it's even more expensive to manufacture locally than to import. That's number 2. Number 3, it is important for all of us again to understand the reality in terms of numbers, because before and after privatization, the number of customers on our book has remained almost the same. And about 20 million customers that are connected to the distribution system in the country. Out of these 20 million, only 8 million are active customers who pay for electricity consumed. There are about 12 million customers who are inactive and who are not paying for electricity that they consume. And they are not even on the discos books, which means we don't even know they exist. Now, out of the 8 customers known, there are about 4 million metered customers. Now, which means we have 56% of Nigerians connected to the grid, which is about 112 million people. Now, these are the issues. Discos, we believe that we don't have less than 20 million customers. But we only know less than 20% of customers connected to the grid since we took over. Now, what that means is that if the books that we had before we took over show that we had 8 million customers, then today, which is 7 years after, and we're still having the same number, then there are a lot of problems. Whereas, let me explain this. This code, we need to be able to capture those who are connected to the grid.
Okay.
And unfortunately, that's one of the problems that we have today. We've done a lot of enumeration, which is still ongoing, which is also expensive. And anything of that nature too is part of the cost of running the system.
Right.
But there's a lot of mismatch in the system, especially the issue of cost and tariff.
Okay.
Okay, so I understand cost and tariff. I understand the fact that the metering is no longer a core responsibility of the discos, but I don't understand the fact that you're the discos are telling us right now that they don't know the entire number of people consuming power, and that's not our responsibility. That should be the responsibility of the disco to have their staff verify everywhere their wiring is. The discos have had enough time to cover that up. That's one. Number two, I want to understand if I am metered right now and I'm already in an estate where I'm paying premium for my premium power supply, and I'm not complaining, I'm having power, but I'm paying premium. What would happen to people like me that have a specific bill that is different? Would I still be paying higher? Would the percentage difference still come upon me now?
Hello, did you get that?
We didn't lose him.
Otunba Oduntan, did you get that? Did you get that?
Is she talking about?
So those who are already paying
the estate's wedding.
Can you hear us?
Premium
Can
customers.
you repeat the question again?
Yes, so I spoke
Yes,
about the
I can hear
fact
you
that discos need to take responsibility. Okay. Discos need to take responsibility for the fact that they have been unable to get more people into their system. 8 million was handed over to you, and you have been unable to gather more data. Is the responsibility of the discos. They failed in being able to acquire more customers or notify where their customers are. This is not the government's responsibility. That's one. That's how I feel. Two, for those premium customers, that's those that are already categorized as premium, who are paying a premium for power consumption, would they also be paying more with the new tariffs?
Okay. Now, I think the issue of premium payment, you need to understand. We started this experiment in some discos, particularly Keja, and other discos are picking it up. If you go to Magodo, if you go to Shonibare Estate, if you go to somewhere Maryland and other places, Diamond Estate, Adibowale, Shebanjo Estate. Now, those who pay premium, it speaks to the issue of the tariff and the cost of production that I've been talking about over the years. What that simply says is that for those who are ready to pay premium, we can go and buy premium from the generation company and sell to them. The problem that we have with the larger society, because now more people are coming on to say they want that, even in Ikeja GRA and some other locations. Because if we're able to pay the producers, why not? And transmission, then once people can pay that cost, we'll be able to supply them premium. So if you are paying premium, you are even lucky because you are in a location where you can pay more and it's cheaper for you today than it was when you had to combine it with your generator. So talking about the tariff and the premium, when you are paying premium, you are paying your tariff for that location because of the kind of service you get. And I hope you understand that. Now, talking about the issue of...
no, before you move on, we want to be clear. Otunba, we're not very clear.
We have increased the numbers. Yes.
Otunba, 1 second, please.
Can you hear me?
1 second. Before you move on to the other part. So, if somebody lives in Magodo today and they're already paying premium, the new tariff that's supposed to start in July, would it affect them? Are you going to increase their tariff again? Or you leave them alone because they're already paying premium? That was the question.
There's a delay.
Hello?
Did you get that?
I can't hear you.
Okay. What I was saying was that you didn't clarify what we're trying to get. We're saying those who are paying premium. Can you hear me, Otunba? Otunba?
Those who are paying premium.
Let's go on a break. We'll try to see if we can call you in instead. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Hello, Otunba. Thanks for staying with us. Good morning. Are you still there? Otunba, can you hear us clearly now?
Hello? Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, we'll have to move on. We have just a few minutes left. But there was an important question Tokwe had asked earlier. Those using premium, they want to know if these tariffs will affect them. So by July 1st, in addition to what they're already paying, which is premium, are they going to pay additional tariffs for what they are consuming. There you go with technology. I guess you still can't hear me.
I just done a call.
And our phone lines are down today. Otunba, can you hear me?
Say again.
Okay. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay, what I said earlier was that Tokwe had asked an important question about those on using premium. Come July 1st, as NEC has instructed, will they be paying additional tariffs, just like guys are on top of what they're paying right now?
Well, the line is breaking. I don't know whether you can hear me, but if I can piece it together, what you are asking is those who are paying premium now, are they going to be affected by the increase in tariff? Is that the question?
Yes.
Okay. Now, those who are paying premium now, what they are involved in is a bilateral agreement with their local disco. That agreement will subsist. They will continue to pay premium, and they will continue to have very good, sufficient electricity supply. We enjoy and we implore other Nigerians to key into the program. If we do this all over the country, the issue of not enough electricity will be a thing of the past, because what they are doing, they are actually paying a cost-reflective tariff. They are not giving us profit or anything, but they are enabling us to be able to buy a distributor and sell to them. This is the way to go. This is what I think all Nigerians need to key into.
Okay.
We need to understand that what we are doing now is not sustainable for the nation.
All right.
All right, can you quickly just break down for us what it means to pay premium? Because a lot of people will be asking, so those of us who get, we have different, especially for estimated billing, we have people complaining that for their areas, they're not supposed to be getting as much. So can you break it down on what it means to be among those who pay premium already?
Well, okay, talking about those who pay premium, what it simply means is that if an area decides that they want to pay the right cost, okay, which is the premium cost, that estate or that area can speak to their discos where possible so that they can give them that dedicated line. For those who are on estimated billing, we keep saying estimated billing is not good for us and it's not good for our customers. Those who are on estimated billing, they don't even manage their electricity as much as those who are on prepaid meter. So which means what we need to do is for the media to help us appeal to the federal government to make importation of meters duty-free. If everybody is metered, and to, of course, ask map provider to speed up and meter our network as soon as possible. If people are metered, all this contention about estimated billing would disappear. But you have to get the numbers right. You have to know that there are no meters available. If people have been asked to pay so much to bring in meters, right, no incentive for them.
Okay.
Those who manufacture, no incentive for them.
I think that point is clear.
That's the issue.
Yeah. Now, finally, is this a good time? Because COVID-19 is still here. Many people are just trying to start off the economy is down right now. Many people are just beginning to start off their businesses again. Is this a good time to increase tariff? Can't you give us another extension? Can you appeal to your own people? As you're asking us to appeal to government, we are appealing to you people to please give us another few months before you do this tariff. We understand the need for it, but we need a bit more time.
Well, thank you very much. You recall that when COVID-19 started, we at DISCOs, in conjunction with the leadership of the National Assembly,
yes, give us 3 months.
I came out on your screen to say that Nigerians should be given electricity free of charge for 2 months. We calculated the cost. Federal government was meant to pay for it, but it appeared that they did not have the money to pay. The thing did not happen. But that shows us that we're very sensitive industries. As DISCOs, we know what Nigerians are facing. But when you're talking about, is it the right time to increase tariff? It's just like asking people questions. Is it the right time to eat? Is it the right time to give your children food? Is it the right time to have electricity? Those are questions I think you lovely women, ladies, can answer for Nigerians on behalf of Nigerians. But I repeat that tariff issues is a neck issue, not an issue. So we will be very happy for you to be able to feed your children, eat on time. Don't say because of COVID-19, it's not the right time for Tokwe to eat. If you understand it that way, I think we can all be on the same page.
So, Laura Konsha, we are still going to get tariff by July 1st.
Yeah, as long as we are eating.
I don't know.
All right. Okay, thank you so much for joining us. We've been speaking with the spokesperson for the discourse, Otunba Sunday Oduntan. That's all we can take on this. When we come back, we continue the conversation on other topics. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. So last Friday, our vice president, actually, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, said that Nigeria runs an expensive government and there is need for a national debate. According to him, there's no question that we are dealing with large and expensive government. But as you know, given the current constitutional structure, those who would have to vote to reduce the size of the government, especially to become part-time legislators, are the very legislators themselves. Joining us via Zoom is a public affairs analyst and an economist, Mr. Wole Oluyemi. We also have the Deputy Chairman, House Committee on Appropriation, Honorable Iduma Igariwey. Welcome, gentlemen, to Your View. It's good to have you both.
Good morning, and thank you.
I'll start with the honorable member, because it's always good to talk to politicians on this kind of matter first. The vice president had said that you have the key in your hands to reduce this bicameral legislation that we have to a unicameral one, such that we have one house. Can you hear me? We have one house, and possibly our legislators are even part-time. In fact, he went further to say that even the local government chairman should be run by civil servants. So this is a president saying we have to face the reality of the times. There is no money. We cannot afford how expensive it is to govern this country. Do you agree with him? And if you do, what steps do you think we can begin to take to begin to adjust and cut our cloth according to our cloth? Go ahead, sir. Go ahead, sir. Did you hear that? Honorable, did you get the question?
Can you hear me? Okay. Yes, I got it.
Go ahead.
Well, thank you very much. The vice president, as a matter of fact, said nothing new. We have always known that the cost of governance in this country is very high. Recall that in 2011, even the previous administration of Goodluck set up a committee, the Steve Rossonye committee, to cut down the cost of governance, merge and restructure parastatal. But you find now that that has not happened. Not because the National Assembly or the legislators don't want it to happen, but because the executive, the policy implementing arm of government, hasn't had the will, the political will, as it were, to carry it out. But let me also say that it is beyond the of an administration. If we want to cut down on the cost of governance in this country, you need to do a lot of work to restructure.
Okay.
So it's not a matter of whether the legislators want or we don't want. For instance, let me give you an example. In this country, it is mandatory. It is a constitutional requirement, Section 147 of the Constitution, that every state ought to have a minister. So you find out that whether we like it as legislators or not, it is incumbent on us to approve a ministerial list of 36 ministers, including the FCT, from Mr. President. So it's way beyond what the legislators want or what we don't want.
I don't understand. Sir, please.
We think with our constitution.
So you are the check. You are the check and the balance they taught us.
Thank you.
The legislator has control over what the presidency can do. You can. You have the power to call to order. You have the power to define and tell that you're representing the people. And the people have put you in charge so that you can check what the executive is doing. So, sir, I don't understand.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
This technology.
You see, Mr. Vice President, did you hear me?
Yeah,
I said, Mr. Vice President, Mr. Vice President was very correct when he said we will need to have a discussion on this. The country needs a dialogue on this. What Mr. Vice President was alluding to is we need to agree on how we move forward as a country. It is beyond there are a lot of bills we can't just initiate on our own. There are bills that must come from the executive. So legislators cannot just wake up one day and say, we want to tinker with this section of the country,
All right, sir.
of the Constitution, without us having a dialogue on it. We can't, for example, wake up and say we don't want 360 federal constituencies anymore, or 109 senatorial constituencies anymore. We can't do that. It will require a national dialogue. So it's beyond our function under Section 88 of oversight. No, or our
Hello?
of the Constitution to make laws for the good of this country. It's beyond that. We must mandatorily have a dialogue.
Okay, all right,
before we can say yes.
Point taken.
This is the direction we want to take.
Okay, but we've had dialogues before. We have the National Confab 2014. We have, yes, reports as well. We've been dialoguing. Are we not tired of dialoguing? Is this not a way to keep stalling from doing what is right? I believe that the government knows what is right. Now, the former Commonwealth Secretary General, Emeka Anyoku, advised that he started by saying that he doesn't expect the National Assembly to change the Constitution because it would affect them, and that's the truth. So he advised that we have create another Constituent Assembly to change the Constitution. The problem we have is the Nigerian Constitution, which is not serving us right now. Shouldn't we be looking in that direction than having another national debate again?
I think it's the lawmaker this is directed to.
I'm all for cutting down the cost of governance. I believe it is good for this country. What cutting the cost of governance means is freeing up more revenue, more resources to develop this country. Right now, that is not what we are having. Right now, you don't even have up to 30% of your revenue going into a capital, which is not good enough. So the point is, like I said earlier, there are certain calls that are beyond the National Assembly, the current National Assembly. In the past, we had a national conference that recommended certain things. We don't know what those recommendations are because they are yet to be implemented. I would say, as an opinion of mine, that instead of even constituting another national conference, we can go back to the report of the national dialogue we just had under the previous regime. So we can have that as a starting point.
Right.
So I agree entirely that
let me move to
a new conference.
Okay, let me go to our guest, public affairs analyst, chartered accountant, Mr. Wole Oluyemi. You are hearing what we're hearing, and I don't know how you like to respond to our lawmaker at this point, especially on the cost of governance. Mr. Oluyemi, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
What are your thoughts?
Yes, I've listened to what Honorable Iduma have said, and it's coming to what I've actually also mentioned at a couple from before, that one of the major issues we have as a country is a structural problem, structural and size problem. And I'll just give you an example to illustrate what I'm saying. The University of California in the United States has a budget of $40 billion, which is about 15 trillion naira. Nigeria's budget is about 10 trillion naira for 2020. So that shows you that a single university in the state of California has a budget that is higher than that of the Nigeria's budget. That's point one. But then when you now look at how we're spending money in terms of structure that Honorable Iduma himself alluded to earlier on, from that same budget, we have maintaining 109 senators, 360 House of Rep members, 36 governors and thousands of advisors. We have some governors who have close to 5,000 advisors and special assistants. We have 36 deputy governors, 36 state House of Assemblies, 774 local government chairmen, and each of those local governments has at least 6 to 10 councillors working for them from that same bucket. So when you look at that, that already shows you the dysfunctional nature of our structure as a country. And then when you now look at even the spending efficiency, that, okay, the little amount we have, how do we spend it? You described that we spend money without much control. I'm happy that someone like Honorable Iduma is in one of the most powerful committees in the House of Assembly, the Appropriation Committee, which the major function of the Appropriation Committee is to control the purse of governments. Is to control how they are spending. But what have we seen from the House Appropriation Committee over the last 2-3 years? If Honorable Iduma himself is alluding to the fact that yes, there's an opportunity to minimize the cost of governance, what has the Appropriation Committee done over the last 3 years to ensure that we control those frivolous spending of government? We know how much this government and the previous government have spent on things like healthcare, even the Asoro Clinic. Now we have an epidemic, we have the COVID-19 crisis. We have senior members of the government being diagnosed of COVID, and they have to import them from Abuja to private hospitals in Lagos, despite the huge spending that we've been spending on healthcare in those government institutions.
Let me pause you for a second.
That shows us that we have a lot of issues.
So all of us are in agreement. Like, we've been saying this thing for years. It's not now that we need to cut the cost, especially within our political class, because you can't start cutting your civil service. However, I've been in this space where I feel that one of our major problems is lack of productivity in our civil service. So we have a very bulky civil MDAs. Every ministry, there are departments, there are agencies, there are different things, different people working separately, but how effective and how productive are they working? Because if they are running the system well, the system will churn out more revenue. We don't even have the revenue. So for me, the call will be two ways. So I want to ask the Honorable, what is holding back the implementation of the Oronsoye report? What would it take to implement that report? I want a firm answer from your own suggestion. You're in the House, you can move for it. What would it take? That's number one. Number two, how can the Senate, the Houses of Assembly mobilize creatively increase productivity within the civil service? Because as long as civil service becomes a block, which it is right now, if you want to register, you have your money, you want to get a C of O, you would wait in the queue, and you are unable to drop your money. You want to pay your taxes, you cannot drop your taxes. The tax officers are fighting for their pockets and not for the government. So these are the systemic issues that are reducing cash flow and reducing productivity. So what can we do from the the economists should tell us how we can increase productivity, and the politician, sir, Honorable, please tell us how we can implement this report that we know is already on ground.
Okay, well, first and foremost, let me just correct the impression given by my friend Wole about the function of the Committee on Appropriations. It's not our duty at all to rearrange completely what is presented to us by Mr. President under Section 80 of the Constitution. What he does is present estimates, proposals actually, but what is our job is not to completely rearrange it or to say, no, government cannot do this, government cannot do this. It's not the job of not just my committee, but even Parliament. There's a limit to what we can do. Attempts to even work on the budget leads to a lot of infighting between the executive and the judiciary, and you hear issues of budget burden and all that. That is when we think certain things ought not be done. That said, going to the Oronsoye committee's assignment, that assignment was given to a committee by the executive arm of government. That committee presented its recommendations to the executive arm of government. So it's only the executive arm of government that can explain what it is doing with the report of that committee. How come they have not implemented any of the recommendations of that committee? Because If that is done, a lot of funds will be freed up for much more important things. There are a whole lot of ministries, parastatals, agencies, commissions that are duplicating things other committees, commissions, and parastatals are doing. There are certain commissions which is what this committee also was assigned to do. There are certain commissions government is funding. Government is not supposed to be funding. So the job of the Rossonye committee went very far, and I will really want to use this medium to appeal to government to have a second look at it. Luckily, the president has started doing that. I just hope they carry it to its logical conclusion. Now, finally, about the state houses of assembly, under Section 5 of our Constitution, everything about the state, we don't have anything. It's the call of the governor of every state. That's the nature of our federal system. So while we can talk about issues on the exclusive and, of course, concurrent list as federal legislators, we can hardly dictate to a state house of assembly the way it makes laws and the kind of laws it can make. So we are completely hamstrung when it comes to activities concerning state houses of assembly. Thank you.
Okay, let's go on a break. When we come back, we'll continue our conversations. Okay, let's go on a break. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. We still have our guests in the studio, public affairs analyst, chartered accountant Wole Oluyemi. I'd like to direct this question to you because, honestly, in view of our current circumstances, the pandemic, the economic breakdown, the fact that oil prices have totally crashed, you will think there will be a sense of urgency within the government to tighten our belt and to reduce costs. So you're here listening to a lawmaker, and I mean, amongst other, and even our vice president speaking, agreeing that we need to cut the cost of governance, which we've been screaming for years. But do you feel is a talk show, but do you feel that our governments are ready to actually begin to cut down? Because if our guest was in the kind of same urgency that we're in now, maybe he'll be saying, listen, let us even start considering unicameral legislature. What do you think, Mr. Oluyemi?
Yeah, it's already a sad story, actually, for us to be getting to hear the Vice President, Osinbajo, saying that after 5 years of being in government, that the cost of governance is high. I mean, you wonder that if you are a CEO of a company and you've been at the helm of affairs for 5 years, and it's taking you 5 years to discover a problem that the whole world knew had already existed even before you came in as the CEO, then it's already a challenge as to the capability of what you can do to fix the problem. So that's why it's a big concern that the Vice President is just raising that as an issue after 5 years of being in government. But having that as it may, we need to have, I mean, there is a need for us to ensure that there is a sense of urgency in the critical sectors. You know, we've talked about healthcare, we've talked about education. What have we learned from the failures of this current government and the previous government, you know, that we now want to use to leverage on and move forward? What have we learned from our healthcare sector based on COVID-19? What are the things that we need to do differently? I'm not hearing anything new from Abuja, from Aso Rock, or from the parliament to say, look, these are some new changes we want to do around healthcare. You know, we are still struggling with resident doctors going on strike today, calling up tomorrow after some few palliatives. You know, we don't really have a structure as to what we want to do. You know, so really it's painful that we got into this level where after 5 years of being in government, we're just realizing a problem that was there even before we started with this government. But then it's not too late. We can start from now.
So they didn't just realize.
We can start immediately now.
Have the right information. They didn't just realize, because the vice president has been mentioning it over and over again, that they need to cut costs right from the beginning, right from the first year, and that was why there was a Stephen Oronsoye's committee. So it's not like it's something new. It's just because he was addressing a policy. There was a web. There was a class.
The Oronsoye committee was actually from the previous government.
Oh, of course.
So the story has actually been there even before now.
So it's not new.
So it's not even this current administration.
Bringing this conversation back to where we started, the vice president is saying that the legislators who can be the ones to direct and drive this reduction that we're asking for, do they have that political will to do so? But speaking with the lawmaker this morning, he's saying, no. It's the executive. So, BC, I'd like to come to you now. I'd like to ask you one question. How does this make sense? Go ahead.
So for me, what I hear is the lawmaker passing the buck. So they said it's you that has the yam and the knife. He said, no, it's not me. It's you people that have the yam and the knife. Can we even tell ourselves the truth? If we really need to, I always say this, and I say it with all conviction, that Nigerians know what to do to solve their problem, but they're not ready to solve the problem because the problem is benefiting a few, and the few have the power. I always say this. Now, we have issues of mismanagement of funds. Nigeria is a very vast and large country. We are still struggling to ensure that we have the basic amenities for the people. Now, we have mismanagement of funds. We have people who have served and who are still earning from the same states. So we are taking in new people, new governors, new presidents, and the old ones are still being paid from the coffers of the state. We have 70% of our revenue to servicing debts. Who will survive where you have 70% of your salary to pay basic?
Q1.
So let's now go to
the issues.
So this question, therefore, is to the lawmaker. We know all the problems. Is there something
we can start
the lawmakers can begin to do
to solve
to
it?
Realistically begin to cut costs? Honorable Iduma, this is for you.
Action points, sir.
Honorable Iduma, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, so go ahead. The floor is yours.
I have connection problems.
Oh.
What was the question?
Okay,
Please.
pretty much, I mean, earlier, BC had told us or reiterated all the various issues we have of cost. We're paying 70% of our revenue is going to recurrent expenditure. The fact that you've mentioned a few other things.
The first quarter revenue.
The first quarter revenue
went into debt servicing.
So quite a few things. And we're saying that, just like the VP had said, the legislators, they're the ones, they have the knife and what did you call it?
Yam.
And the yam in their hands to actually review the Constitution. Everything you're saying can be done by constitutional review.
Yes.
Simple.
Bang.
But you are saying earlier now that no, it's the executive that's supposed to actually implement this. For us, we want something direct from you as a lawmaker. What steps can we begin to take? Are we really awake to smelling the coffee of what is going on today? So what can we do?
Give us some action plans, sir.
Thank you very much. Let me really make the point, and I think I have made this point, that we are only an arm of government whose core mandate is to make laws. The drivers of this country, constitutionally speaking, they are the ones who give direction to policy, who say this is the way this country should go. We compliment them. I'm not saying we don't compliment them, but the point I'm trying to make is that, look, there are core and basic issues that belong to the executive. Let me give you a clear example. We passed the 2020 budget, but it took the executive to say, we want this budget to be revised. There's no way the legislature could have said, bring back this budget, we want to revise it. It was the executive looking at the totality, the enormity of problems that are supposed to attempt solving with the budget, knew that there was need to rethink and tinker with this budget, and they brought it back to us. That's the way the system works. There's no way we can do certain things on our own.
Okay, let me be sure, sir. Sorry to cut you off. Sorry, let me be sure I am very clear.
When they brought back this budget, they now said, Mr. President said, let me finish. Mr. President now said, I want to take away 30% from recurrent overheads. This on its own would have said, MGAs, take away 30% from your budget. It was the president's call, and he made it. Take away 20% from what we call administrative capital. That is all these things like a laptop. We want to do this. We want to buy new. The order was, we don't want it this year because of the economic crunch we are having. So the point I'm making is some of these cost-saving things, plugging these loopholes, they actually belong to the executive.
Okay. Wait.
Let me be sure I get the
necessary legislation.
Sir, Honorable, let me ask you some basic questions. Like, for example, can you, as a lawmaker, initiate, first of all, changing our legislative from bicameral to unicameral, number one? Is that something you, as a legislator, you can do, number one? Number two, can you, as a legislator, also reduce the number of local government that we have? Or stop us from having local government chairmen, but actually changing the law to have civil servants be the ones to be the administrators of the local government. Is that something that the lawmakers can do? Because that's a cost reduction suggestion. Number three, can you as a lawmaker... Okay, answer those two first.
Yes, completely impossible.
Okay. Can't you pass the bill?
No,
sorry. So let me answer the first one.
Okay.
Can we by legislation, change from the presidential system we are operating to a parliamentary system?
Yes.
It is completely impossible.
Okay.
It's like saying it's impossible.
Okay.
We can't do it. The only way we can do it is through a structural change. And I think I and Wole share a common agreement on that. It's only through a structural change, which can only come through a consensual agreement of Nigerians that we don't want this presidential system again. Mind you that presidential system is something we adopted at a point in time in our national history.
So through like a
to jettison it must still be by way of an agreement. We Nigerians now say we don't want a presidential system, we want a parliamentary system. That's the only way it can come.
Right.
There's no way this parliament or any parliament will sit down and say we don't want a presidential system anymore. We want this. It's not going to be possible.
Okay.
Oh, wow. Sir, you are dispelling. I thought that the legislature, the way they taught us in school, what they taught us in school was that people were very, very powerful. So, but you're giving us real life situation concerning this. However, there's another thing that I wanted to find out if it is within your control. You mentioned that you couldn't, the president was the one that submitted the appropriation bill again for review. Is it not possible for the House of Assembly to say that based on the economic downturn of the world right now, we are asking the president to represent? Could it not be initiated from the Assembly? The National Assembly can call on the finance minister, and I've seen that happen. Yeah. You can call on the presidency to defend why this is happening. So why is the House of Assembly currently, this current one, being seen as a rubber stamp to the decision going on, instead of being a check, which is to counter what is going on, whether it is right or wrong?
Okay.
No, there's a lot of... Okay, to be honest with you, there's a lot of synergy between this assembly, ninth assembly, and the executive. I must admit to that. When I say synergy, I mean cooperation, and that is what a true democracy should be. Even in America, there are common areas of agreement. Before we agreed to revise this project, we had a series of meetings between the leadership of the House of Representatives and, of course, the Senate, and the Minister of Finance and the Minister of Budget and National Planning. There was a lot of meetings before common grounds were reached, like what are the fundamentals? What do we agree that we should have as the cost of a barrel of crude oil, for instance? What quantity, what projections can we have? We agreed on all those things. So we can't just come up and say we are legislating this and legislating that. That's not how the thing runs. We sit down and agree on certain things. That doesn't make you a rubber stamp. That makes you a parliament that is working for the people. When you sit down, when you can agree to sit down with the other arm and agree on common issues. That is what we are doing.
All right.
And I think it is for the benefit of this.
All right, Mr. Oluyemi, I mean, you've been hearing us for the past few minutes. What are your thoughts on everything that has been said so far? What are your last words on this?
Yeah, I think, yes, I can hear what Honorable Iduma is saying. And I know that, I mean, I think there is this proverb that says sometimes when you are at the table eating, that you cannot be talking as well. You know, so when the focus of the National Assembly is how they'll put in 37 billion naira for the renovation of the House of Assembly in a single year. You know, I mean, it's possible that they might lose focus on the other things that are important to the people that elected them into the House of Assembly and into the Senate. You know, so I'm not really surprised that, yes, a lot of things that we would have expected the National Assembly to help us challenge the executive arm of government, that they are still struggling to even understand what's going on. But But the issue is we all of us need to be conscious of the fact that, yes, we are in a serious problem. The Nigerian economy is not as big as we thought it used to be, and we have serious revenue deficits, and we have spending efficiency issue. You know, sometimes when we even approve this budget and they say we're spending so amount on a particular project, sometimes when you see those projects, you ask yourself that if Nestle or Cadbury or Unilever is doing a similar project, would they spend this kind of amount for this level of quality of work that you're saying? And a lot of times the answer is no. You know, and I mean, sometimes we joke about it that sometimes we need to outsource the functions of government to the private sector, and give it to MTN, and give it to Unilever, give it to Cadbury to be able to push this thing forward. So we have a serious problem. We need our National Assembly. So we have a serious problem. We need our National Assembly to be able to sit tight and hold the executive accountable.
All right, we have to wrap up.
We need them to be the watchdog for us on behalf of the citizens of this country.
Thank you so much for joining us. I have to just take a final word from our Honorable Iduma. 10 seconds, you want to wrap up, sir, for us?
Have they started paying you your full salary, sir?
Honorable Iduma, are you still there?
Yeah.
Final words for us before we run off.
Here.
Yes, final words, sir, before we run off.
Yeah, what I'm saying is, finally, that the 9th Assembly, the one I'm talking about now, is doing the very best it can in the best interest of this country. That we cooperate with the executive to say that things move doesn't mean that the Assembly is a rubber stamp. Definitely not. It is in the best interest of this country.
Are you getting your full salary now, sir?
Unfortunately, that's all we can take.
Are you getting your full salary?
Unfortunately, that's all we can take.
That we are fighting with the executive. I don't think that.
Okay, all right, point taken. Unfortunately, that's all we can take on the show. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us. We'll be speaking with the public affairs analyst and chartered accountant Wole Oluyemi and the deputy chairman, House Committee on Appropriation, Honorable Iduma Igariwey. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us.
Thank you.
Okay, COVID-19 hasn't gone anywhere. It's right here with us. Please stay safe.
20,000.
Yeah, over
44.
And 500, almost 500 have died.
244.
Yes,
almost
in Lagos.
500 have died.
So please be safe. Do all the safety guidelines they've asked us to doing, and continue to wear your face mask and your shield. Have a fabulous day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.